this EP is probably the pinnacle of a year-long journey that I've gone on to try and bring my own music out there. And it means a lot to me to be at this point because, you know, you can release one or two songs and people, you know, they take a little bit of interest in what you're doing, but it's when you start to get to the point where you're bringing an album out where people start to take you seriously. You know, you're here to stay, you're here to do your thing, and that really excites me now because where I go from here, you know, it could go anywhere. My favourite song that's really hard to say because there's so many good songs. Freak is a really great song, and I really love that because it started off somewhere completely different. I wrote it as a kind of 12-bar blues type of Beatlesque type of feeling song. And when I gave it to James, I gave it to him in a really kind of stripped back fashion because I wanted to see what James brought to the table when I'd done no production on it at all. And what James brought was such energy, and I mean it became from this kind of bluesy song into quite a heavy rock song, and it was the first time I really sat back after hearing the production on it and thought, wow. Stop what you're doing, 'cause you're no friend of mine. I won't be made to be leader with you all of the time. I'm not afraid to be bigger, yeah, I won't be defined, 'cause I'm a freak, yeah, baby. I'm a freak, yeah, baby. Stop what you're doing. When I appeared on Starstruck, it was kind of a turning point for me because many people know that for years and years I've suffered from anxiety from an early age. From about 16 it started, and anybody who's suffered from anxiety knows that it's kind of a lifelong condition. It never goes away. And when it first came about, I mean, I was a wreck. I used to religiously throw up every time I went on stage. I mean, I couldn't get on buses and ride in taxis. It was really bad. But I forced myself to get through it because performance for me, performing was everything. I couldn't do anything else. I knew if I didn't do that, my life really wouldn't be what it is today. So I forced myself to do it. And it was when I got to Starstruck, when I was stood on this platform 100 feet in the air in this aircraft hangar, ready to go down, sing in front of millions of people, in front of Adam Lambert, I realised that I wasn't afraid anymore. You know, all of those feelings were still there in the background, but it was the first time I felt, yeah, I've got this. You know, I'm comfortable here. And it was a great feeling because all I've wanted to be on stage is to be myself, be my true self. And it was at that moment when I didn't really feel that kind of panic and fear anymore, that I really felt comfortable. And it was exciting for me. And it was at that point I knew, yeah, I can do this. I can start to be myself. I can start to bring my own music out. So it was a real turning point. It was really funny when I first met James because I was at the kind of end of my tether with producers. I'd worked with so many to try and bring out all of the things that were in my mind. I was working with guys in the States, I was working with friends of friends, and every time I got music back, it was great. What they produced was great, but it was never a representation of what I was hearing in my mind. And it was really funny because I'd had enough. I was like, I'm going to produce it myself. There's no other way I'm going to do it. So I booked Rock Hard Studios in my local town. Me and my friend who plays drums, Chris Carter, we went in there and we thought, let's just do it. I'm going to get on the desk, you play the drums, we'll do it ourselves. And at the end of the session, it was really funny because the local resident engineer who was looking after the place came in, and it happened to be James. And we almost got into a bit of a confrontation over it because James turned around and said, well, why haven't you asked me to do it? And I was like, I don't know who you are, you know? So I thought, what the hell, you know, I'll give him a song to produce and see what happens. And the song I gave him was Reflection.
First heard Reflection, I could really imagined the potential of the song and where Rob was taking it with the grand piano, the string arrangements, and I thought it was quite the epic ballad. Perhaps, you know, risky for the first single, but definitely, you know, followed along with the vibe of the show, Starstruck, where he started.
So it was the first time I'd heard the things inside my head in front of me, and I instantly clicked with James. I think we've got the same kind of creative mind or something, because we instantly started bouncing off each other. And I think, you know, when you meet somebody who is on the same creative wavelength as you, because the sparks happen, there's something magical about it, where you just work. It works. So I immediately thought, I've got to give the rest of these songs to James, and that's what I did.
I thought the rest of the songs were great. I think one of the things that really stood out to me was the variation in feel, and it isn't as if we've crossed multiple genres, but in many ways, like, all the aesthetics are quite different.
It was at the point after Reflections that I could trust James with the rest of the music. He was confident with what he was bringing to the table. He respected all of my ideas, but at the same time, he liked to challenge the way I saw it as well. So what ended up happening was we started creating things that I didn't even imagine could come from the music that I'd written. And that's when you know you've found somebody good, because not only are they bringing the things inside your mind to life, they're bringing an element of themselves to it, which you can't buy. You can't find that unless you find somebody like James that you click with and you can work well with.
My favourite song from the EP has to be, it's a toss-up between Freak and High. So I think both those songs, we kind of allowed ourselves to go down the rabbit hole in some ways, especially with High. It started off as what could have been a Beatlesy, like McCartney-esque pop song, and ended up taking inspiration from Ye, Billie Eilish, and we even kind of visited 70s glam rock.
So the EP for me is the next stage of a journey that's lasted over 12 months now. It's that point where things get a little bit more serious and people take you a little bit more seriously, because you're no longer just bringing out one or two songs. You've now got a collection of songs that belong to each other, and people start to really get what you're trying to do and what you're putting out there. So I'm really excited for people to hear the EP, because it's the first time I've heard these songs together, and the journey that you go on with them is exactly what I wanted to create. So I really can't wait for people to hear it. We're planning to release the EP around March time, where we're just finishing off the final mixes now. They're going to go to master, and as soon as we get the masters, we're going to get the discs manufactured, and hopefully that'll all be done by March, and they'll be straight out there.